My name is Gian Martinelli. I'm a member of the Learning and Development team at Rich Products Corporation, and I'm really excited to be able to share with you the work that we've done to set up a digital learning experience platform at Rich's by leveraging technology from TalenTeam and SAP. And so what I'm going to do today is I'll spend just a few minutes in the beginning to give you a bit of context on Rich Products, who we are as an organization, and then I'll spend some time talking about the challenges that we faced, and then ultimately what we wanted to accomplish in terms of setting up and delivering digital learning experiences for our associates in the organization. And then ultimately we'll discuss how we were able to achieve that vision, leveraging that technology from TalenTeam and SAP. I'll also give a little bit of a demo of our live environment too, so you can take a look at what we've put together. So before we get into that, just a little bit of context on Rich Products as an organization. We are primarily a global food manufacturing company. We've got about 12,000 associates globally across many different countries. We are a privately held, family-owned business, and you feel that very much in the culture of our organization. I've never worked anywhere where the culture is so distinctly family-oriented. And what's great about Rich's is that we have this really delicious and expansive product portfolio. So the business started in the toppings and icings realm, making non-dairy with topping, but we've since expanded into quite a few other food product categories that you can see here listed on this slide. What's really striking too about our portfolio is that we offer these products in a wide variety of formats. So for example, if I'm a restaurant owner and I have a staff of skilled chefs or culinarians, we'll sell you products that allow your staff to put products like this together. On the other hand, if you're an operator who does not have that kind of skilled labor, many of the products that we offer are pretty much fully finished, where you take them out of the freezer, you thaw them, you warm them up, and you're ready to serve the food to your customers. So our customers come from a wide variety of areas. I've highlighted 3 of the major categories here, but this is by no means an exhaustive list. But many of our customers can be found in bakeries and delis. These could be locally owned bakeries and delis, or they could be embedded within grocery stores or supermarkets. Similarly, in the food service space, our customers range from local restaurant owners all the way up to large national and multinational restaurant chains. We have a non-commercial presence as well, with customers in places like K through 12, school cafeterias, colleges and universities, hospitals, and nursing homes. And then this last category that I have here is what we call our consumer brands. So these would be products that you or I could walk into a grocery store or mini mart and purchase directly from, say, a refrigerated or frozen food aisle. I mentioned a moment ago that our culture is really distinct at Rich's, and a lot of that is supported by what we call the Rich experience. And this is essentially how we partner with our customers, our colleagues, and our communities to deliver really a best-in-class experience with whatever it is that we do. And the reason why I wanted to include it here is because as we embarked upon this project to set up and deliver a digital learning experience platform to our associates, we really kept the Rich experience top of mind, because as an L&D team, we see our associates as our customers, and we want to provide the best possible experience for them. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of context on who we are as an organization and a bit about our culture. What I'll do next is talk a bit about the challenge that we faced, where we were a few years ago, and then ultimately where we wanted to go. So when I first started at Rich's, our L&D team was primarily focused on delivering instructor-led training. And this was really well received, and it continues to be well received. But of course, the drawback with instructor-led training is that associates had to wait for us to make learning experiences available to them. At the time, these instructor-led trainings were also either full-day or multi-day commitments, so it really was quite a commitment for an associate to participate in one of these instructor-led trainings. As a side note, that has since changed. We've revised our format a bit. We did have some digital learning content available, but it was pretty much limited to what we had developed internally using different tools like video editing software or e-learning authoring applications. So in terms of where we wanted to go, we wanted to continue to offer the instructor-led trainings that were well received, but also supplement them with a blend of learning experiences across modalities. So thinking of blended learning and fully online learning as well. The idea behind this would be that learning content would be available to associates when they needed it, sort of this just-in-time learning approach, not necessarily waiting for the L&D team to set up and deliver training. Because we wanted to make this online content available at any time, we wanted to make it as close to the flow of work as was technically possible. And so we kept in mind that just a few years prior to this project, we had gone live with SuccessFactors Learning. And so we wanted to build on the momentum that we had already set up with our end users leveraging SAP SuccessFactors Learning. And we wanted to keep the overall experience consistent and familiar. We didn't want to totally uproot users with a brand new external platform that people would have to relearn how to navigate. And then the last point here is just around the research that we wanted to do to invest in some external vendor content libraries to supplement what we had set up internally. All right, so next what I'll do is I'll talk through kind of our thinking behind the setup and design process as we engaged in setting up this new digital learning experience platform. So we ultimately called our platform My Development Network, and you might be wondering, how did we come up with this title of My Development Network? And it really ties back to an ongoing parallel initiative at Riches that we call the Moments That Matter. And essentially what these are the key fundamental moments that our associates have identified as the most important to them throughout their career journey at Riches. And you can see here in this diagram that my development is one of those key moments that matter. In fact, we heard through various channels like our engagement survey and our pulse survey that the my development moment was among the most important of these moments that matter that are listed here. And so in setting up and delivering this new learning platform, we really wanted to tie it directly to the my development moment. And what better way to do that than to just call the platform My Development Network. So we started to take a look at the technology platforms we wanted to leverage to build out a platform like this. And as I mentioned, we wanted to build on that momentum of what we already had with SAP SuccessFactors Learning, as well as some of the other modules in SuccessFactors as well, like development. And so we started to look around and we realized that we had access to a tool called SAP Jam that at the time the organization was not really leveraging. And so we saw SAP Jam as an opportunity for us to build on what we had already started with SuccessFactors Learning, bring content in from SuccessFactors Learning, and also source material that might be more informal learning resources that don't necessarily reside within our learning management system. And so fortunately, we discovered TalenTeam's Blend solution, which allows us to do exactly that. It really transforms your SAP Jam environment and now your SAP WorkZone environment into a learning experience platform that allows you to source content from multiple areas in and out of your learning management system. And so with these three platforms in mind, we decided to move forward to really set up our framework. In terms of the digital vendors that we started to look at for external content, we did kind of a large survey and ultimately landed on what you can see here on this slide. So through SAP Content Stream, we gained access to Skillsoft's Business Essentials library, which consists of thousands of video-based courses, ebooks, and audiobooks, as well as some book summaries. Speaking of book summaries, we also partnered with getAbstract, which is this really cool service that provides 10 to 15-minute summaries on books, podcasts, videos, and pretty much any other interesting learning resource that they curate. For associates who are interested in gaining more official credit-bearing courses, we created a partnership with Cornell University's eCornell branch to curate their offerings and make them available on our platform. And then the last resource that we have listed here, this AP icon, that stands for TalenTeam's partnership with Anders Pink, which is essentially a web aggregation tool. It allows you to go out, crawl the web across thousands of websites, and pull in relevant articles around any topic that you can think of. So the idea is that it creates this automated, fresh stream of resources coming into your platform. So you can kind of think of the last two slides as our ingredients or raw materials for what we wanted to put together. And so the challenge was A, creating the architecture to accomplish that, and then B, designing the overall end user experience for the platform as well. And so thinking about the architecture of how we kind of lay out the platforms that we were leveraging, we created this high-level pyramid or iceberg model. So at the foundation of the pyramid is what we call Associate Central, which is our internal branding for the SAP SuccessFactors suite of modules. And that's the foundation because it's where all of our associate and talent data resides. In the middle of the pyramid is our SAP SuccessFactors Learning environment, which we brand as Associate Central Learning. And we wanted to continue to leverage AC Learning because of the robust functionality that it offers. So things like automated course assignments, library access and permissioning, management approvals, and then, of course, all of the data and reporting that's available through SuccessFactors Learning. And then at the top of the pyramid, or the tip of the iceberg, is that My Development Network experience, which consists of the combination of SAP Jam and Blend to create the associate-facing and Netflix-like experience. And we'll talk more about what makes it a Netflix-like experience, but it really boils down to the way that you can discover content from multiple sources and a personalized experience. So once we had identified what our architecture was going to look like, as I mentioned, the next step was figuring out a good design for the platform. And so we started to look around at what other platforms internally at Riches had done well. And we also started to look at what other platforms in our personal lives do well from an entertainment perspective. And so looking at a platform like Netflix, like Spotify, they really boil down to three fundamental features that they all share. So number one is they all have a really wide variety of content. So no matter what it is that you're looking for or might be interested in, chances are you'll be able to find it. The second key shared feature among these platforms is, of course, the personalization. So because they have such a massive library of content, they funnel that content down to you by leveraging your personal preferences and trends as a consumer. And then the third key feature that they all have is that they're overall really intuitive and easy to use. And so we kept all three of those principles in mind as we designed our internal platform as well. So going back to that first point, we have a wide variety of content available on our platform. To start with, from a launch perspective, the content that we're leveraging is very broad-based and broadly applicable. Although we have started to make some forays into technical and function-specific content. And I'll show you that in just a moment. We, thanks to Blend's functionality, leveraged personalized learning recommendations right on the homepage of our platform. And then to that third point, we've tried to make the platform as simplified and easy to navigate as possible. As learning and development professionals, we all know that there are plenty of barriers for our learners to make the time to take a look at resources. We didn't want the platform itself to be an obstacle for people to get to the content that they're looking for. Okay, so with those principles in mind, I'm actually going to shift gears and do a bit of a demo of our live environment of My Development Network. So I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen here. And can I get confirmation from somebody on the team that you can see my screen?
Yep, we can see it. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right, so here we are on the main landing page of my development network. And just as a quick disclaimer, as I go through the platform, you're going to see these blue buttons that say Settings. That's simply because I'm an administrator. I have a few extra permissions. Our end users don't see these options here. But if you're familiar with SAP Jam, you can see how Blend's functionality works directly within your SAP Jam platform by providing some additional enhanced widgets that, again, create that more learning experience-like platform. So we have a custom welcome message available here, and then the search functionality provided by Blend is really powerful, so we wanted to make that front and center on our homepage as well. And we'll take a closer look at the search functionality in just a moment. But just continuing to scroll down, we try to stay abreast of all of the key initiatives that are going on at Riches. And so whenever we see a featured event or a resource that we think is of interest from an organizational perspective, we like to keep it front and center featured here in the section called What's Happening at Riches. The scheduled classes functionality available through SuccessFactors Learning is extremely popular at Riches. Pretty much any group that schedules events for the organization leverages the SuccessFactors Learning scheduled classes functionality, which works great for us because what we're then able to do is to highlight those upcoming events directly through this upcoming events widget here. So right on the homepage, you can keep track of everything that's scheduled and sign up directly just by clicking on the enroll button for the event. And then if we continue to scroll down, you can see we're starting to leverage the personalized learning recommendations. And so first-time users see a menu that looks like this when they log in. So they get a prompt that asks them what they're interested in learning more about. And what they can do is just choose from this list of topics to generate those personalized recommendations. Now, you might be wondering, how did we land on this specific list of topics for this menu here? And what we did was we aligned the launch of this platform with our launch of our core and leadership competency assessments in SuccessFactors. So the idea is that an associate could go into SuccessFactors, take their competency assessment, have a conversation with their manager around areas of development based on the results of the assessment, and then they could come over to my development network and then choose, whatever competencies that they want to focus on to receive those personalized learning recommendations. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to choose daily leadership and decision quality, and then I'll just go ahead and click submit. And this will refresh with a new carousel of different resources around those topics that I've just selected. Because we have so much content available on our site, we wanted to create other avenues for people to get to resources that they might be interested in. And so what we have here are what we call our development centers. And these are clickable tiles that will take you to pages of curated resources around these strategic topics that we've identified. I'll actually wrap up the demo in a few minutes talking about the Demand Creation Development Center, because I think it's a nice example of some of the work that we've done to bring in some more technical function-specific content. Just like a Netflix or a Spotify, we wanted to make it easy for people to get back to resources that they've either started and haven't completed, or maybe something that they've completed recently and they want to go back and refresh. So we have this recently accessed row here. Another great feature that Blend offers is this idea of trending content. So what it does is it takes a look at what your colleagues are looking at on the platform, and then in this trending in your network section shows you those most popular resources among your peers. So you can see, for example, in my network, Agile and big data resources are popular, so they're showing up here in this trending in your network section. And then the rest of our homepage is dedicated to just advertising the different kinds of resources that people can find on the website. So we routinely refresh with new curated lists of resources. Right now, we're featuring a lot of content around Agile. And then we also have spaces to just advertise the things that have been recently added from our vendors like getAbstract, Skillsoft, and eCornell. Okay, so as you can tell from our homepage, the purpose is really to advertise, again, those different kinds of topics that you can find. However, we also wanted to create a space where people can keep track of their personal learning goals and information. And so you can see here up at the top, we have this toolbar, and the second option is called My Development Dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what we have on this page at the top are the development objectives from the development plan in SuccessFactors. So you can see here, these are actually my goals for this year on my development plan. The idea behind this is so that as people are navigating the platform, they can keep their development goals top of mind to help focus in on what it is that they want to access. Anything that's either been assigned to me or that I've assigned to myself voluntarily will show up here in my learning plan. And again, this is just a way for me to kind of stay aware of what I need to complete. Blend has this really great functionality around playlists, which work exactly like a YouTube playlist does. So these are basically ways for our end users to create collections of resources, maybe that they want to compile for their development plan or based on their competency assessment. We also like them as an L&D team because we can create playlists and then publish them out to the organization. And you'll see in a little bit, we actually leverage playlists quite a bit in our marketing and communications. Throughout the site, you have the ability to recommend content to your colleagues, and then those recommendations will appear here in the section called Recommended from Your Colleagues. And I love this feature because you can actually hover over the resources and you can see the messages that are coming from the people who are recommending content to you. And then down at the bottom, we've just repeated the upcoming events widget because they tend to be so popular at Riches. We wanted to be able to advertise them in multiple locations. Now, I mentioned the playlist functionality is really robust, and it's also really well received at Riches. So we actually have an option for you to get to your playlist from anywhere on the platform up here at the top. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll click My Playlists, and we can take a look at what that looks like as well. So you can see here, I have a playlist called Keeping Your Team Productive and Engaged. And the general format of playlists is all of those resources appear along the left. And then as I click on each one, the information about the specific resource appears on the right. And it's just as easy as clicking the launch button to get to the resource. I can also like it, again, recommend it to somebody else. And if it's an informal resource that's not within the learning management system, you can manually mark it to complete to maintain your progress. Switching to another playlist that you've either created yourself or adopted from elsewhere is just as easy as clicking this Switch Playlist button and selecting a new option. Now, I mentioned the search functionality was really strong too in the platform, so we wanted to make it easy for people to search for content wherever they are on the site. I'm just going to go ahead and click Search up here at the top, and this will bring us to our Search Catalog page. Now, by default, it's going to show resources that have basically been added across the board. So it's kind of a diverse blend of resources. What I can start to do, though, is use these fields up at the top to get to resources that I'm interested in. So let's say I want to learn more about Agile project management. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and then I'm just going to start to type in Agile project management. And you can see as I start to type, it's actually going to provide suggestions for what I might be interested in. So you can see here, if I don't even finish the search, it'll show Agile Project Management, and it'll even start to suggest some initial content that I might be interested in. But for now, I'll just go ahead and select Agile Project Management. And you can see once that search goes through, 119 results show up. So what I can start to do then is use these additional filters to access exactly what it is that I'm interested in. So let's say, for example, I want to see maybe a Skillsoft video that takes no more than 5 minutes to complete. So I can say, let's go to Provider and only show me Skillsoft material. And then for duration, only show me content that takes me less than 5 minutes to go through. And then finally, in format, only show me video-based content. All right, so I've gone through, I've selected my filters. I'm just going to go ahead and click Search. And you can see that narrows things down quite a bit. And again, it's as easy as clicking the Launch button to get to that specific resource. Now, I mentioned earlier that we've created these development centers that are essentially featured spaces for curated resources around strategic topics that we've identified. And so I want to show you our Demand Creation Development Center. Now, this would be content that would be catered specifically for our associates in sales, marketing, and our culinary functions. And so we partnered with subject matter experts in each of those functions to identify some good internal resources and overall support us in terms of what should be prioritized on this page. But you can see here we've got quick links to some internal resources that those teams use. We also have some development resources that those teams actually created themselves to feature here. We have a seasoned culinarian on our team named Jake Brock, and so he's penned a series of blog posts around topics that are of interest to our demand creation teams. You can see them here. And then this group is really interested in staying aware of the key trends in the food industry. And so we're actually leveraging the Anders Pink tool to aggregate articles on key topics and show them up here on this page, again, in an automated, up-to-date manner. So you can see here we have a channel or a carousel on what we call consumer behavior. So these would be on topics like plant-based food, which is a really hot topic in the food industry. We've got another carousel around what we call channel impacts. So these are trend articles on things like ghost kitchens. And then finally, we have another one on what we call digital accelerators. So this would be on topics like the role of e-commerce and online ordering, again, as it relates to food. So again, really helpful to have that Anders Pink tool to bring in those trend articles in an up-to-date and automated manner. We've also pulled in and featured book summaries from getAbstract on sales and marketing. And then this group was unique because they have an enterprise membership to a group called the Association of National Advertisers. As part of that membership, they have access to in-depth, advanced, function-specific online courses. And so thanks to Blend, we're able to import those courses into this platform, curate them into playlists, and then feature them here on this page. So we've made playlists around topics like branding, marketing strategy and execution, market knowledge and voice of customer, and digital demand creation and analytics. Okay, so that gives you a pretty good idea of the features and functionality of our platform. I'm going to switch back to the presentation to talk a bit about our marketing and communication strategies that we've leveraged so far. So we went live with My Development Network to all of our knowledge workers in the United States, Canada, Vietnam, and Indonesia at the end of February in 2021. And that's a pretty typical rollout model for our team. We tend to start with the US and Canada to kind of set the foundation, get feedback, and then tailor it to a more global platform over time. And so to support with the launch of My Development Network, we got a lot of buy-in and support from our executive team. And so when we actually debuted the platform, Richard Ferranti, the CEO of our company, sent the launch communication. And what was so powerful about Richard's communication is that he tied the launch of the platform directly to his personal commitment as CEO to create great leaders in the organization. He also tied it explicitly to one of our strategic capabilities around leadership and associate effectiveness. So again, it was really powerful to have Richard's explicit buy-in and then his support by launching the platform on our behalf. Following Richard's communication, we then engaged in a social media campaign where on a bi-weekly or monthly basis, we would post on our social media platform around featured topics. And what we would do is we would create playlists of resources around topics and then link directly to those playlists in our posts. So you can see here from the screenshots I've put together that we did posts on topics like communication skills, time management, as well as many others on topics like project management, data analytics, and work-life balance. We also tapped into existing leadership communications that were being used and are continuing to be used. So for example, at the height of the pandemic, Ed Moore, our Chief Human Resources Officer, would send a bi-weekly communication called What's Going On at Rich's. And it was basically a summation of all of the key events, initiatives, and featured resources that might be of interest to folks. And so we use this quite a bit to promote different resources on various topics from my development network. That communication has since evolved into a weekly newsletter called Topping the Week. It's much more succinct. It's no more than 3 points, and we still leverage it from time to time to promote different resources. And then the last component I wanted to touch on from a marketing and communication standpoint is the town hall presentations that we've done. I want to say we've done 15 to 20 different function and department town hall presentations throughout the organization just to give people exposure to the platform and give them space to ask us questions if they need help. All right, so I'm going to wrap up with just a few slides on what our intended next steps are with my development network. So as of our go live last year at the end of February, we've had 2,600 unique users access the site. And from a licensing perspective, that's a really high percentage of users that we've actually licensed for within the organization. We've had 1,300 unique resources that have been accessed on the platform, and we've had some interesting findings in terms of the kinds of users who are accessing the platform. To give you an example, our top 2 functional users are our sales associates and our research and development associates. So it's interesting to us that people who work in very different environments are both going to the same platform to access learning content. I showed you just a moment ago some of the work that we've done around bringing in technical function-specific content. We've got a bunch of functional groups and departments who are interested in doing something similar to what I showed you with our demand creation folks. So we'll be working on that over the next year or so. Like many people on this call, the future of work and the future of the workplace are top of mind for us. And we want to be able to use our platform as a primary resource hub for people to get content around being an effective hybrid associate and being a great hybrid leader. Because we've only licensed for a portion of our audience to start, we want to continue to identify global interest and global needs so we can make enhancements to the platform as more groups sign on and adopt. Integrating into the flow of work will be a top priority for our learning and development team for quite a while. The flow of work has changed dramatically for knowledge workers at Rich's over the past few years. Our use of Microsoft Teams has skyrocketed, and so we want to be able to focus on and deliver learning content directly in platforms that people are using, like Microsoft Teams. So we're going to start to look into that as well. We recognize that a lot of the resources that we have on our platform right now are pretty much formal learning content only. So if we look at the 70-20-10 development model, we're really only focusing on that 10% formal learning. What we want to start to do is to advertise more experience-based and social learning as well on the platform. And we're also keeping a close eye on what SAP is doing with the opportunity marketplace. And then the last point I have here is when we went live with the platform in 2021, we did not focus much on the mobile experience. And that was simply because most of our audience was stuck at home and using their laptops anyway. Fortunately, that seems to be changing a bit, and so we want to start to explore the mobile experience and make sure it's as optimal as possible for our end users. Okay, so I think that touches on everything that I wanted to cover. I'll pass it back to Donald to see if there are any questions, and I thank everyone for your time.
Wow, what can I say? What a fantastically well thought out presentation. I think you covered just about everything that I could think about. It's certainly, you know, from a technical standpoint, obviously, but also from a cultural and change management standpoint as well. It was really interesting to see your thoughts on that. If you were I mean, that's basically a question for me, but if you could do anything differently based on what you've learned today, what would it be? Is there any kind of nuggets that you could give the folks on this call that are maybe starting off on their journey and thinking about experience? What is there any kind of key lesson that you think, wow, if only I'd known that, I maybe wouldn't have done it that way?
That's a great question. It's something that we did, so it's not necessarily a regret or anything like that, but I will say one of the key steps in the process for us was engaging in a pilot. So I mentioned our research and development group a little while ago, and they have a reputation for being the vanguards. They want to be the first for everything at Riches. So they, of course, wanted to be the early adopters for our platform. And so what we did was engage in a pilot program with them before we did our large rollout of the platform. So giving them early access and getting their feedback was really crucial to us, making some key adjustments for the rest of our end users as we scaled up. So I would say if you develop something like this internally, definitely use pilot programs to get feedback and refine over time.
No, that's an absolutely great point. And I think the other area that's of interest to the audience, I think, is in relation to, I suppose it turns into this whole thing around skills and capabilities and the need to upskill and reskill and right skill, especially giving opportunities to develop in the world of the kind of great resignation. And how are you tying kind of these learning opportunities back into a skills or a capability framework? Is that something that you're done, or you're looking at, or is that for the future, or what? Any kind of nuggets that you have on that?
Yes. So I mentioned earlier we had timed the rollout of the platform with our competency assessment launch. And so to start, we really only focused, again, on those core and leadership competencies. So we worked as a business to identify what those are. We actually partnered with Korn Ferry to identify those core and leadership competencies. The next step will be in focusing on the more technical competencies. And so we have a whole team dedicated to engaging in that work as well. But from a learning and development perspective, we'll stay close to that to make sure that whatever each of our functions identify surface as selectable topics with curated offerings available in our platform as well around those key competencies they identify.
Fantastic. Look, hopefully you'll be able to stick around for a little bit longer. There's a pile of additional questions directed to you in the chat. I think Sandeep in the background has been answering some of the product ones, but on behalf of both SAP and TalenTeam, thank you so much for your time today. Fantastic presentation. I learned a lot. Big round of applause. Well done on everything you've done. Thank you very much.